let's talk a little bit more about the All-Star game. And that's coming up soon. Phase one of the voting ends in a couple days. I want to point out that there are two top vote getters right now, Aaron Judge for the American League side and Shohei Ohtani on the National League side. If they both remain the top vote getters, they will be locked into a starting spot for the All-Star game. Skip phase two, they're starters, and that's that. But this is what the ballot looks like right now. The top two at each position, and then top six in the outfield, because those are what gets moved on to phase two. So your top two first basemen in the American League are Vladdy and Paul Goldschmidt. The National League would be Freddie Freeman and Pete Alonso. Second base, Gleyber Torres and Jackson Holliday. Then Ketel Marte and Tommy Edman. Shortstop, you got Jacob Wilson and Bobby Witt Jr., followed by Francisco Lindor and Mookie Betts. Third base, Jose Ramirez and Alex Bregman. Third base, you got Manny Machado, and then it was, forgot what I wrote down there. I'll find that in a second. But you got Manny Machado there, and then DH.
Come on, Corey.
It's smudges. I'm a lefty. It's smudges.
Why don't you just have like the website up?
Or, I don't know, Google Doc.
Google Doc? Yeah,
We
well,
got
I'll
to get
pull it up.
Corey a second monitor.
Yeah, definitely could use that. Let's see. MLB All-Star. So for DH, we got O'Hearn and then Rice for the American League side. And the National League side, you got Ohtani and Devers. Now, Ben, you weren't here last week. How do you feel about Devers being eligible for the All-Star game on the National League side?
I mean, look, it is what it is. I don't think he should be penalized for it. And it's not like the National League doesn't have a DH. So, it is what it is. I think he's an all-star caliber player. And at the end of the day, Major League Baseball needs to get their star players into this game. So I have no problems with it whatsoever, especially if he gets voted in. The fans want it. That's what should trump everything.
If he doesn't get voted in, though?
If he doesn't get voted in, I mean, look.
Should he make it as a reserve?
If he's the best option, yes. You got to see who else gets voted in before determining who the best options are.
Third base for the National League, by the way, Manny Machado and Max Muncy. And then catchers, you got Cal Raleigh, Alejandro Kirk, and then National League, Will Smith and Carson Kelly. Now for the outfielders, American League, you got Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Javi Baez, Mike Trout, Stephen Kwan, Cody Bellinger. National League, you got PCA, Teoscar Hernandez, Kyle Tucker, Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, and Corbin Carroll. Like I said earlier, right, Judge and Ohtani are the top vote getters right now in the Major League voting. If Ohtani makes it, then he's the starting DH. There is no DH in phase two of voting. That's done. And then if Judge remains the top vote getter, only 4 outfielders move on and not 6 because you'll have one already locked in. So then it would be the top 4 vote getters, meaning Green, Baez, Trout, and Kwan would currently be the ones to move on. Judge, by the way, looking to be the first repeat for top vote getter since A-Rod in the 2007-2008 season. Judge and Ohtani were the top 2 vote getters last season as well.
Oof, that's all the way back when you had the mail in your all-star ballots.
It's been a while. Good almost 20 years. Crazy how that's almost 20 years ago. But Judge right now has 2,699,483 votes. Ohtani, 2,521,718 votes. Who do you guys think should be the top vote getter? Because that's one of the battles that I want to look at.
Aaron Judge. He's like the best player in baseball right now.
Not like he is the best player in baseball history, yes. Ben?
Look, I think that, Ohtani is the clear pick just because he's Ohtani. But at the end of the day, I think you look at a guy like Judge and everything that he's done. I think 100% he is the upper echelon of where you want to be. And I think, yeah, the Yankees added some pieces that have done some good things, but even last year, their lineup was not deep when they made it to the World Series. It was Aaron Judge. No one can will a lineup like Aaron Judge. And that's pretty much what he's been able to do this year. I think, Goldschmidt's resurgence, part of it has to do with hitting in a lineup with Aaron Judge. And, the only one who was not really able to get going with it right away was Cody Bellinger. And even he, has at least leveled a bit.
So you think Judge should be the top vote getter over Ohtani this year?
100%.
All right, next battle I want to look at, the American League second base battle, but this is for the number 2 spot. So this is for somebody to go against Gleyber Torres. In phase 2 of the voting, you got Jackson Holliday with 806,133 votes and Jose Altuve with 795,123. Who do you guys think deserves it more between those two?
It's funny because Altuve, the left field experiment failed. It was,
Spectacularly.
yeah. So, I feel like that should, if you have that brutal of a position change attempt, like that should count against you. I'm going to go with Holiday here.
I gotta agree with Ben on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Holiday too.
Plus,
But
I don't like Altuve. I really don't like Altuve.
I wonder why.
Who knows?
Who knows? Now you got the second spot for the American League DH. This is to go against Ryan O'Hearn. You got Ben Rice with 409,366 votes versus Brent Rooker, 396,290 votes. And then also versus Colt Keith, 363,723. So between Rice, Rooker, and Keith, where do you guys find yourself?
I'm all over Rooker. I think, for the A's, it would be good for the franchise to have an all-star named as a starter. I'd want to keep that going. Plus, look, Rooker is one of those guys who just flies under the radar because of where he plays.
Yeah, I mean, I lean Ben Rice, but that's a little bit of home cooking for me. I've just seen what he's done and how unlucky he's gotten. And I just look at him and see, that's just a professional hitter. He's going to be competitive every at bat. And I think the numbers might come around by the All-Star game and be a lot more respectable with the way he's been hitting.
I also like Brent Rooker there. I just think he's one of the better players on the A's right now, and I like Ben that if he wasn't on the A's, we'd probably be here like way more about him. He's one of those players that does seem to go under the radar because of the team he's on. But if he was on like almost any other team, you would probably hear way more about him.
Now, the fourth spot for the American League outfielder, like we said, Judge is probably going to be locked into that starting lineup. So instead of 6 players moving on, only 4 will. And that's going to be between Stephen Kwan, 810,746 votes, Cody Bellinger, 712,153, and Kerry Carpenter, 664,318 votes. Personally, as much as I want to lean Bellinger, I think Stephen Kwan's probably got the edge, but I would be very thrilled with either two of those guys. I think they're both just a step above Kerry Carpenter in this.
I like Kerry Carpenter's power, but he's a little bit too streaky. I think Kwan is easily the most consistent player of these 3.
Bellinger hasn't been an All-Star since 2019 in his MVP year with the Dodgers. I was a little surprised to find that out.
I like Kwan too, but I mean he doesn't have the same power as all the other guys do, but he is a way more consistent and just better hitter.
Right.
But there's no power really behind him. So, I mean, what's he sitting at right now? 6 home runs?
And I believe he hit like 3 of them in like a week. He wanted like a little bit of a power surge.
Yeah,
back in
so
April.
but he's batting 310. So he's batting over 300. He just doesn't have the power and stuff. If he had the power, it would be he would definitely be like probably I don't think he'd be first, but he'd probably be like second or third in voting.
Now going to the National League side of things for a little bit, you have the 5th and 6th outfielder because Otani's not an outfielder; he's a DH. 6 guys move on. You're looking at Juan Soto with 1,048,781 votes. Corbin Carroll 1,019,472, and Andy Pajes 962,219. Personally, I think Pajes and Carroll are the clear 2 that should be moving on to the next round out of these 3. They've been consistent pretty much all year. And Carroll went on a very surprising power stretch too, where he's shown that he could be a 5-tool player.
Look, I think, it's very easy to look at Juan Soto's first 2 months and turn your nose to it, but Juan Soto's had a terrific June, and even during this Mets losing streak, he's been the only guy hitting, it feels like. I think, with his recent power surge, I think they said he's hit 9 of his home runs in June so far. He's got himself up to 17 now on the year, which means he's going to get to 30. I'm happy with where Juan Soto is at. I think his recent surge is actually going to be what propels him to the top of this because you're going to get more recency bias. But when you look at these guys overall, is Pajes really a better option than both Carroll and Soto? No, I believe Carroll just went on the injured list, if I'm not mistaken, with a fractured wrist. But I think, so that might pull him out.
He did. He has a chip in the wrist.
What was that, Corey?
He has a chip in his wrist. I don't think they gave a timeline yet on.
That's
there's
probably,
no
it's probably
timeline,
done.
and I know there was questions about whether or not he was going on the injured list, but I think I saw that yesterday. So I'm not exactly sure where he currently stands, but I know he's dealing with some injuries now. But Juan Soto is the one who's trending up. And I think that's why Juan Soto is the one who gets the edge of the 3. Now, I mean, Pajes, though, on the other hand, yes, he's been one of the guys carrying that Dodger offense, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with Ben on this one, though, as much as I don't want to. I mean, Soto, he didn't start off great, but he has had a fantastic June and then, has started to look like how he did in the past. And if you look at like his numbers, he's pretty close to, Pajes and Carroll. So it's like, and if you had to pick one out of those 3, like Soto, easy is like the best one out
I'd
of the
still
3.
lean Pajes to me my top out of those 3, just because he's carrying a Dodgers team, and honestly, I think he's just been a more consistent player over the stretch of the season. Not that he's not a better player. Obviously, Soto's the better player to the 3, but consistency, I think you got to reward that, especially when the numbers are very similar. Then the last battle I want to bring up is for the second, third base spot in the American League. Alex Bregman, 654,377 votes versus Zach McKinstry, 502,516 votes. We've named a lot of Tigers today. That's what you get when you got the best team in baseball. Do we lean Bregman, who's hurt, or McKinstry right now?
I mean, Bregman, I think there's just a lot of weirdness around there because you feel like, is he really a gain to his team because it cost you Rafael Devers at the end? But I feel like just overall people get infatuated with names. I think McKinstry is the better option.
I agree with you, Ben. And I think It's a big reason why it's good that we don't go straight fan vote for the full team anymore, because people just go for the names and you kind of get, remember that one year where basically every starter was a Blue Jay? You get that when you get a lot of undeserving players, or less deserving players, I should say, in these roles. But John, who do you like between the two?
I mean, honestly, Bregman, because it's like, I mean, it's not like Bregman's having a bad year. I mean, he's batting 299, 11 home runs, 35 RBIs, 938 OPS. I mean, and McKinstry, like, he has 4 home runs, 21 RBIs, 774 OPS. He's batting almost like 270. I mean, I guess you can see, I guess I can get behind McKinstry, but it's like Bregman is having a really good year too.
I just think the injuries have kind of played a factor in that.
Yeah, but if he's healthy, I mean, I'm taking Bregman all day.
Understood.